Yeah, well, a good point to make here is that everybody's body fat distribution is different. So where one person might show, like let's say guys, for example, like one guy might be showing, his abs are starting to really come out at 8% body fat, and another guy, it might be 10% body fat, or even, some guys might even have to get lower, 6 or 7% body fat for them really to get the bottom abs to show. For women, from what I've seen, 16 to 18% is usually a good target. I'd actually be wary of going too low. I've seen some women 13, 14% body fat, and sometimes it starts to get a little scary. It can be a little unhealthy to go too low. And guys, generally 8 to 10% body fat, you're going to really start to see your abs well. If you get down to like 7% or under, you're going to be pretty ripped. So those are some general numbers.
Yeah. And the, one of the things that goes along with this whole I want to see my abs thing is, let's start with some of the myths that are out there, because probably the biggest one out there is the build and burn myth, and you typically see this in bodybuilding magazines where, it's usually for a fat-burning supplement, and it'll show somebody at about 3 to 4% body fat, and they somehow manage to gain a whole bunch of muscle in the process of getting down to 3 to 4% body fat. Man, I wish that pill were really out there. But, Will from Ackworth, Georgia, just basically, he sums it all up in this question. Is it possible to build mass and burn fat at the same time? Seems like when I eat for mass, the most effective mass building occurs around my waist. People have been so programmed, us guys particularly, that build and burn, build muscle, burn fat, get shredded. In your opinion, what's the practicality of that? And, go ahead and just have at it and just take it on.
Sure. Well, from what I've seen, it is possible to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, but I've only really seen this in real life in beginners. And, people that have just been sedentary, and now they start working out, they start doing resistance training, and they're building muscle, but at the same time, they just had so much body fat, they're losing fat also. When you get to the real world with people that have been used to training for years, it's very hard to actually build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Now, I usually recommend, taking it in cycles. So, and usually, I like to correspond it to a time of the year. So, if in wintertime, it's a good opportunity you're not really going to be at the beach that much. You're not really worried as much, of your exact body fat percentage, to make sure your abs are showing perfect. But so maybe that's the opportunity you take to make sure you have a caloric surplus and you're training hard and heavy, and you're going to focus that period of time on building muscle. And then, spring's coming or summer's here, and maybe you focus that period of time on losing body fat and making sure you're getting getting that body fat down low enough to see abs visibly and maintain that. And so that's, if you think about it, it's really tough to gain muscle and not gain a little bit of fat, because you'd really have to be absolutely perfect with your caloric intake, and almost nobody's going to be that. Because there's going to be a certain level where, all right, at this point in time, you've always got to think your body is programmed at any given point in time. However, there's a certain caloric need that you have to just maintain that same weight. And every time you gain a little bit of weight or lose a little bit of weight, that number changes. So, like for me, I generally, I'm about 3,000 calories a day to maintain my weight. But if I gain 10 pounds, well, now, it might be 3,200 calories per day. It's going to be slightly different. Vice versa, if I lose 10 pounds, it's going to be slightly different. Now I'm going to be expending less calories. So you always have to think about the dynamics there. So that's why I say it's almost impossible to get the exact equation right, and it's too hard to try and figure it out, so don't. Just know that if you're going to try and take a period of time to gain muscle, you're going to need a caloric surplus. and it's not going to be perfect, and you're going to gain a little extra fat as well. But you can still stay relatively lean. And then, when you need to lose body fat, you're going to need a caloric deficit. And, again, it's trying to, at this point, it's trying not to go too extreme to where you lose a lot of that muscle mass that you gained, because you want to maintain that lean muscle, because that keeps you, that's basically the fire for your metabolism, is how much lean muscle you carry, is, one of the exact, or I should say the direct correlations with how much calories you're going to burn on a daily basis. So I think that's a good way to put it, is that, take it in different goals and different times of the year, and don't really try and do it all at the same time.